The moment the driver spotted a white van in the rearview mirror, his eyes instantly changed. It took him less than a second to realize that the people following them were not ordinary men. They were there to kill the woman. The very next moment, the window of the white van rolled down, and the man inside pulled out a rocket launcher. The woman's face turned pale with fear. She thought this was the end. But the man sitting in the driver's seat remained completely calm. There was no fear on his face, not even the slightest panic. He casually turned the steering wheel, slightly shifted the car, then stretched his hand out of the window and simply flicked his finger. What happened next made the woman stop breathing. The rocket flying straight toward them suddenly changed direction in midair and shot back toward the white van. Boom! A massive explosion turned the entire van into a giant fireball. Meanwhile, the man sat there as if nothing had happened. Just a few days ago, the woman could never have imagined that the top bodyguard hired for millions of dollars would turn out to be this sloppy-looking drunk man. Anyone who looked at him would say he was completely useless. But only a short while earlier, that same man had effortlessly defeated armed gangsters using nothing more than cigarette butts. Everything happened so fast that neither the woman nor her subordinates could clearly understand what had happened. Since no one else was there, the woman began to suspect that he was the one responsible. But one of her subordinates quickly said, "Ma'am, this guy only cares about alcohol. Their guns probably misfired on their own." Hearing that, even the woman started to think she might be overreacting. But then another subordinate received the bodyguard's profile from the Security Alliance. The moment he opened the file, everyone froze in shock, because the man in the photo was him, the world's most mysterious and dangerous bodyguard. Even then, the woman still refused to believe it. She assumed he must have bribed someone to get that title. What she didn't know was that the man intentionally acted careless and useless, so the enemies hidden around her wouldn't become alert. The dangerous secretary. At that moment, the woman's secretary entered the room carrying coffee. But the instant the man saw her, his expression changed. Without saying a word, he suddenly stood up and started searching her body. The woman angrily shouted, "How dare you!" She thought he had crossed the line, but the man remained calm. He wasn't harassing her. He was conducting a security check. A few seconds later, he noticed old gun calluses on the secretary's hands. Those marks clearly proved she had handled weapons before, meaning she was far from an ordinary secretary. But the woman still failed to understand. She immediately ordered him to let the secretary go. As soon as the secretary left, the woman yelled angrily, "I can fire you right now!" But the man only smiled. Then he said, "First, let me show you something." The next second, he pinned the woman against the desk. Before she could even react, he pulled a tiny listening device hidden inside her clothes. The woman's eyes widened in shock. That meant the enemy had been listening to all her conversations for a long time. With a faint smile, the man said, "You're not completely stupid, but you're still far too naive." Even after that, the woman still didn't fully trust his abilities. She coldly said, "I need a real warrior, not some drunk driver." But the man calmly replied, "In the entire organization, I'm the only one brave enough to take this mission." The woman found his confidence incredibly arrogant, but at that point, he had no other choice. So unwillingly, she allowed him to stay as her driver. The banquet of death. The next day, the woman prepared to attend an extremely dangerous banquet because many powerful enemies were targeting her new project. Most of her guards and servants had already fled in fear. Only 2 female bodyguards remained by her side. At that moment, the man walked out, asking about food before anything else. Seeing his attitude only irritated the woman even more. Soon, they all arrived at the venue together. But the moment they stepped inside, the massive doors slammed shut behind them. The atmosphere instantly became tense. Realizing the situation was getting worse, the woman quietly whispered to him, "Go eat somewhere in the back and run away when you get the chance." But the man acted as if he hadn't heard a word. He casually picked up food and started eating. Then suddenly her greatest rival appeared in the center of the hall. With a smile, he said, "If you want to stay alive, I'll transfer all your company shares to me." The woman fearlessly refused. The moment she rejected him, the enemy summoned one of the world's deadliest assassins. Within seconds, both female guards were brutally beaten and thrown to the floor. Meanwhile, the woman was grabbed and forced to sign the documents. The entire hall trembled with fear, but then a spoon touched the table. Clink. The entire hall suddenly fell silent. Everyone slowly turned toward the man. He had calmly risen from his seat, but this time the laziness on his face was gone. Only death remained in his eyes. And at that exact